Here.
What is up?
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Player X
And the Galone Wolf.
coming at you here from Semi-Limited Podcast.
There's like a sad boy wolf right there.
Yeah, getting into it, we're going to start doing all of our plugins. So quick shout out to Unplugged Gaming, speaking of plugins, out in Manlius, New York. Be sure to check out the Discord server down below. You can go check out all the news and happenings going on with all the TCGs, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, One Piece, Magic, Digimon. All that stuff will be right there in the Discord. You can just go down there and start interacting with everyone. They really encourage it. They're also sponsoring the giveaway we got going on. So I'll let Dylan talk about that. But while you're down there in the description box, you'll see a Linktree link to the podcast websites, so you can go down there, click on all the social sites, be sure to follow us, subscribe, click the notification bell so you guys will be aware every time we drop a new meme or a new episode for the podcast, which I think Felt Tony was on deliberately today. He was dropping the spicy memes today from
I
the
heard,
drive back.
You had a sexual encounter with Baguska.
Yeah, he drugged me. He put something in my drink.
He said terribly.
he's a terror to peer for a reason.
But yeah, speaking of
just go to TikTok, just start following our fucking sites, get them to 50 followers each so we can do a giveaway, or the next one will be at 100 Instagram followers because we're 25 away from there. So
yeah, just follow that Linktree below. The giveaway we were talking about was the Wild Survivors.
No, Baguska, after the show.
He's got the 40 in his hand and shit. But
drunk off his ass.
All you have to do is inbox us a private message at the Semi-Limited Podcast Instagram with a picture of you and your more sexual or naughty or wild card. Baguska is you can't do that anymore. It's off the table, okay? But
yeah, Baguska's off the table.
We'll be doing that.
He's taken now
for the giveaway. Make it wild. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it was a fun time. Nationals was really good. For those who don't know, Nationals this year for 2023 was in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was at the convention center. We stayed at the Sheridan. We had about 13 players from Syracuse go out. Out of those 13, I think 10 were in the main event, and then 3 just did Edison. There was a big Edison tournament, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think Dan Vrabel got top 3 at the end of Swiss, and I think lost out in top 8, I want to say. So he's probably like between 8th to 4th place, which is really good for how many people they had like participating. I think it was like somewhere close to a couple hundred people. So I think that's fucking phenomenal. So shout outs to Dan for putting on for Q's. But the Nationals was really fun, man. Like, even the venue was really big. The hotel was right across the street, so it wasn't like a strenuous walk. There was concessions within the venue, so there wasn't a lunch break per se, but between rounds you had enough chances to go like grab a quick chicken tender or a burger or something like that. Prices were a little outrageous, but it's whatever. I understand it. They got to make their money somehow,
Oh, that's where they fuck you.
But yeah, we had a whole bunch of people coming down with us too, so it was mad fun. We had and again our car. We had Albert Park. We had Brendan. We had Felton, Jake Curtis, and Antonio. So we all drove down there together. 10 hours.
So you got to watch some Shrek on the way then?
I was Lord of the Rings this time, dog.
Oh no!
He was hitting those trilogies like it's nothing.
Went through it twice. No,
yeah,
it's
Jake
dope.
on those trilogy waves.
My last regional I went to for One Piece was in Canada, but even the BK had some inflated prices. But what's funny about it is we had American cash, USD, and they know that our shit's worth more. So we went to pay with it, like thinking that they'll do their conversion and shit for us, because the last couple times I've been in Canada they did, but they said fuck that noise and they were just doing it straight up. And the employee straight up took out. Like, it was like, $20. He took out a 20 in Canadian and pocketed that shit to go plus off of it later.
Oh, wow. So he pocketed your 20 and then gave you 20 in Canadian to pay with?
Yeah.
See, that guy was smart. He knows the system.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to that guy. He plussed up like, what, $2.50?
Per dollar, motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, those conventions could get greasy, man. But yeah.
No, it was
Shout
a
out
fun
to the
time.
workers.
A lot of things happened. It was very, very eventful. We went there. I think we got there at the venue probably about 1 or 2 p.m. From the drive up on Friday. We left at 3 o'clock in the morning. We all left from my crib, drove down there, got there around like 1, 2-ish. Met up with everyone else who flew in. Shout outs to Ryan App, Eric Christensen, Matt Pelletier, Scott Semley, Dan Vrabel. They all came down too, but they all flew because they're all bougie. And when we all got there, we all linked up. We went over to make sure that we checked the venues out because it was my first nationals. For those who don't know, I started playing this game in latter years of 2019. So the first year we were supposed to have a nationals, we had the huge like COVID outbreak. So nationals was canceled, and then this was my first one. Even though I had my invite to it, this is my first one I actually was able to go to. So it was a fun time. I think it was a really great experience. I wish that the line for those tokens are crazy long. Like those token generators that they have, where they take your picture and put it on a token. Like those lines are like ridiculously long. I think I waited in one for about 45 minutes before I was like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, at YCS 200, I just waited till day 2 to even get into that line because it was just you're gonna wait there for hours just to get some shit.
Yeah, I was told either day 1 when the venue first opens up, if you're there like early is the best time, or the last day, same thing. You go there super early because people are playing out day 2 early, and the people who are going there usually are supporting their friends, so they're not usually trying to do things like that. So
What were on them this time? Did you, or you didn't even get to see?
I didn't get to see, but I'm pretty sure it was one of those because I saw someone else's when they got it, and it was the Red Hot Fire Nova shit. I don't know the exact dragon, but it was one of those like Red Hot Crimson Synchro dragon shits.
So only if you played
Reds.
only
Red.
if you played early in the game or anime head, you would care about that.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't give a fuck. That's why I wasn't that like hurt. Once I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's like not bad.
They have that, or you can get like the background of the event name. I think like because I got 2 done, and it was
Oh, okay. I didn't know they had choices. Yeah, because I never made it up to the front. That line was ridiculously long, and by ridiculous, I mean like you guys all saw the live stream. Well, anyone who's probably listening to this saw the live stream of the Nationals, and you could see how big that room was, and the line literally stretched. I swear to God, halfway across the room, and it didn't go down. Like it was always constantly halfway down because you were only limited to one copy, but you weren't limited to one per day. So as long as you got back in line, you can go get another one. So people were like going in, doing a funny one, and then going back in line, coming back to the front, doing like a serious one, going back in line. You know what I'm saying? So it was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, oh yeah, I got 2 for mine because they had Toon World was the theme because Pegasus was there. So I had to get my Toon World one, and then I got my YCS
okay.
200 background. And then they usually offer another one, but I said, fuck that. I'm not waiting in line again for a third. I got 2. I'm good to go. And
I can understand.
We made friends with the guy that was doing the cutting, so he just said, fuck it, and he gave us multiple cuttings of each. So it was pretty dope. So
dope. Yeah, that's what's up. I would have definitely loved that because that line was way too much of a weight for me to kind of invest into. I did want a token, though. Don't get me wrong.
I can't imagine being that dude just fucking cutting a million token sheets because, they cut it right there after they print it.
Yeah. That was the most probably tedious job. That and just being the one snapping all the photos, watching all these sweaty, smelly men grouped together for these pictures.
So how many amazing judges were there with the shirt that was one size too small?
Oh, I mean, obviously it's standard like that. So, I mean, all of them. They come standard, one size too small. If you tell them you want an XL, they're gonna send you a medium. So, but speaking of judges, I don't know what. Maybe it was just me. I've never been to another nationals. I have nothing to compare it to. But for me, there were just not enough judges, my friend. There were like one judge was in charge of like 16 or 20 tables. It was insane. Like the amount of coverage that they had to like really get to. And it's not even like because like in my head, or at least for me, I don't want to like put that on anyone else, but like for me, a good judge is like a dime a dozen. So if you don't have a good judge in your section and this quote unquote bad judge is like covering multiple tables, there's just more line for error because like a lot of these judges didn't know what was going on. Like Antonio and I first walked in, we were trying to find out what were the okay camera areas to where you can record and stuff. None of the judges that we talked to like 5 or 6, none of them knew any of the rulings. They said two of them said we can just record wherever. And it wasn't until the last person said that there was one designated area on the bottom floor, like the playing floor, that you can record, and that all other recording from their knowledge was in the vendor aisles, which was like a floor above the playing area. But like, yeah, between the lack of amount of judges and then the lack of competency between judges, I feel like it could have been run a little bit better. Maybe there were just not enough judges and short notice to kind of go through and participate or help. But I saw a bunch of the familiar judges that we always see, like Ryan Para, who judges for Millennium, is another tier 2 judge. He was there. We ran into him for a brief moment. But like, there are a bunch of good judges, don't get me wrong, but they're like, the amount of coverage that they had, if you had a bad judge, you had a bad judge for like 20 tables. Like, the judging could have been a lot better, in my opinion.
I feel like it's an ongoing thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, because I've been to I hear a lot of stories about Pokemon, One Piece, and all that shit, and it's like buttery smooth. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, that's kind of just fit in the book. Not to shit on Yu-Gi-Oh, but I think they need to kind of step up their events, kind of thing.
No, but it's a supply and demand thing.
Well, I mean, it's the second biggest or third biggest, card game in the U.S. So it's surprising that the events are kind of just being on the downside.
Well, you got to look at it this way too. Like, most players would rather play in events than judge events. I mean, like, even look at some of the events that we as Semi-Limited Podcasts have tried hosting. Like, I would much rather play in an event than judge it, because like, the real fun comes with playing with your friends, in my opinion. So like, yeah, it's cool to judge and shit, but like, when I'm doing a judge call, in my eyes, or at least in my head, I'm like, damn, well, if I was playing, I wouldn't even need to make a judge call, because I would have done this and this and that and done this, and you know what I'm saying? So like, I would much rather play than judge. So when people like, look at Ryan App and has his tier 1 judging, he can go judge regionals all the time. For those who don't know, when you become a judge and you're finally certified, you get put into like almost like a email chain, and you get alerted as to every time there's a regional in your area. You can have it give you alerts by the mile radius. So like, a regional within like 100 miles of where I live, it'll let me know like, hey, there's a regional coming on, would you like to sign up for it? And Ryan App doesn't sign up for a lot of them because he just rather play in them. He got his judging just to make sure that if we needed one, or if anyone in Syracuse ever needed one, that he could. Like, same with me. So like, I would much rather go to a regional and play than judge. So it really just, in my opinion, just comes down to a supply and demand of who wants to judge compared to who wants to play.
Yeah, it's not like like a sport where you got to eventually hang up the fucking cleats. You, as long as you can walk, you can play Yu-Gi-Oh. So I mean, maybe they should offer bigger incentives, or like even judge promotion cards or some along that line, instead of just a mat or some shit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the rest of the tournament was really fun. I mean, we got to do a whole bunch of side events. I did a regional flight. I got to the finals and lost to fucking Exo Sisters. I don't know. I was losing to Rogue all day, the entire tournament.
Exo Sister, I think, took a European dub, I believe. Didn't they?
Take the European dub, and then the guy who won the remote duel tournament with Exo Sisters also competed in Worlds qualifier. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he and Paulie Aronson, who was also a guest on the podcast, are going to be our world points representatives from North America.
Yeah, what did he get second place? I saw that. Was it second?
I think so. Yeah, I think the Exo Sister player won again, if I'm not mistaken. But we didn't finish the rest of the day there, and I didn't check up on it because we were out to dinner at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I'm pretty sure those are the two names. So I know they're in. I just don't know who won.
Yeah. He was probably still on cash.
Yes, I'm pretty sure Paulie was still on cash.
I see they were giving away two supers instead of like an ultra too for the prize cards.
Yeah, so it was very weird. Yeah, there were no ultras for this nationals, but you got 2 supers instead, which in my head makes no sense. I would rather just want the ultra, because if I'm not mistaken, I think Jake told me that second place also got 2 supers.
Yeah, they were both holding up 2 supers in their photo.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, why would you do that when, I mean, the whole point of getting first is to get a prize that no one else can get. So if everyone's out there just getting super rares, then what's the real point of it? In my opinion, and maybe that's just me being ignorant or whatever, but I would much rather, if I'm winning the whole thing, get at least an ultra. At least one. Come on.
Yeah, at least something that lets you know like you outperformed the second place. Because like you said,
Exactly. Because otherwise, what's like? There's no shame in getting second place for that. I can just throw the second place event and still get the same prizing. I'm still going the worlds. I'm still getting 2 prize cards. I'm still getting the mat. Still getting a trophy. Or maybe the trophy
yeah,
is the only difference. I don't know.
yeah. That's I saw the I saw. I don't know if you guys took a photo of it, but I did see the trophy lineup, which was pretty sweet. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, if that's the only difference, like at the end of the day, like I mean, pride, you know. But what the fuck, like you when you're competing like that, like obviously you're just competing for that. But you know, having a card that brings in another $500 if you're selling it is pretty nice.
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely.
What else can you say? It's just a weird way of doing it. I don't know. Maybe they just fucking dropped the ball and forgot to print more. Who knows?
But for those of you who were curious, I participated in the main event this year. But we had fun. I wound up playing a build of Kashtira that Jake and I had worked on for about 3 weeks prior. It was a blind second cashless. We were theorizing that the best way to play cash is actually just going second instead of going first, especially with all that you lose to. It's much better to break a board when your opponent has maybe 1 or 2 cards in hand and then stick to your ice heart then than it is to stick to your ice heart going first and have to play into about 5 or 6 cards if you didn't get hand trapped. So Jake did a little bit better than I did, but I will run over my matchups real quick. Let me pull them up. So my records on day 1 were as followed. Round 1, I 2-0'd a Vanquish Souls player. Keep in mind that I personally, a little bit of me wanted to do the blind second because I suck at dice rolls. I always lose dice rolls, and I lost, like, I think, like, every single dice roll but one, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll go back to it and find out. So I lost this dice roll. I had a Swift game 1 win. He didn't really open too well. I had Bell for his add back from Rock, and then full combo afterwards with a Dark Hole and Duster with Planet and Fenrir setup. So I was pretty chilling. Then we went to game 2 where I made him go first because he obviously went first from winning the die roll. I made him go first game 2, and he opened trash. He set 2 past. I had the Lightning Storm to clear the back row, and then full combo from there. So it wasn't too long on that one. So I was 1-0, and then I went to round 2, which I played against Runic for Hire Sprite. I lost that die roll, but then won the round 2-1. Game 1 was really quick since my opponent bricked. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he made Huggins, searched the field spell, played field spell. I think he made the Hugin. He played the one that Hugin couldn't be destroyed by card effects or by battle or whatever it was, so he can draw the 2. He didn't draw anything. He passed. I was able to out the fountain and then just clean up the board from there. Game 2, I opened all engine and no non-engine. So when he went first and set up the real Sprite Runic for Hire board, I just didn't have enough to crack the board. I was playing, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with 2 unicorns, a planet, and a birth. And then if I searched the Yosis, he wound up having Ash for me. So it was just a swift one. We went to game 3, and I just stuck to the game plan. I had the decision to go first and try to lock him out with like a smooth E-Rad or a Deck Devi, depending on what engine I wanted to hit with using thrust. But instead, I made him go first. I stuck to just keeping all the board breakers in, and it wound up sticking. I opened up evenly matched, to which he had no response. Ripped most of the things off the board. I think he kept the fountain still up, and then on my main phase 2, he activated Rex to try to build a board, but I was able to clear it with the planet that I had, triggering a Shangri-La to pop, and then the fountain, he didn't really draw into anything because I had Bell for it. So I just stuck to the cards, and it allowed me to overpower him the next turn. I think I won. So I won that one 2-1. And then round 3 was where everything went downhill. Round 3, I'm playing against Generators at table fucking 2. Table 2, undefeated, playing in table 2, playing Generators. I lose the die roll. He goes first. I'm unfamiliar with how Generators plays, so I'm trying to read every single card. I've learned from many top duelists, if you don't know what a deck does, you read every card that you don't know, and you don't leave it up to your opponent telling you what it is. So I'm wasting like maybe 25 minutes in this first game reading all the cards, making sure I understand the interactions. Boss stage is a fucking hell of a card, just not hard once per turn. I learned that shit out the hard way. But for some reason, he didn't have enough to stop all of my board breakers. So one of them finally stuck and gave me enough power to overpower him in game 1. Game 2, he had orange light for the one hand trap I had. I think I went to go Ash his ability to search boss stage, and he had orange light because they play a whole bunch of fairies, and it was just over from there. I think I had maybe that one hand trap. Yeah, I had one hand trap and I opened too much engine, so I lost that. Game 3, I made him go first, stuck to the game plan, and then just saw too many doubles. I just bricked. I think I opened Theosis, Big Bang, Ash Blossom, which didn't do enough, and Prosperity, and then the Prosperity hit got ashed. So it was
when you
just
try so
not that
hard,
much.
but you don't succeed.
Yeah, so I took out a undefeated spot by generators of all things. So yeah, go ahead and
I would
comment in the,
have
group chat.
I would have felt pretty tight about that.
Yeah,
The only
it was
comparison I
not
have
fun.
to that, because I wouldn't have lost like that, but my boy Ron, we were at a big event, I forgot where, and it was his first time like going up against a rogue like fucking deck, and it was Crystal Beast back in the day. This was like during he was playing Trickstar, and the dude swiftly 2-0'd him, and he was so shook that like it threw off his next game and his next game.
Yep. That's exactly what. That's
And,
exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
And Rogue, they'll fuck yeah, yeah, bro. Obviously you can't be prepared for everything, and it just some people are just in the lab, bro, working on some danky ass Rogue decks. Just to, you know, what's crazy too is that dude probably didn't even make it.
He made day 2. He made day 2,
never
but he
mind.
lost. He lost round 11. He was on the bubble the entire way into day 2, lost round 11, didn't get to play round 12. But I linked up with him afterwards.
Someone probably saw his shit and was like, all right.
No, apparently he was doing real well. He was doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? I wound up giving him a map pin, took a picture with him. He was a cool guy. He followed us on YouTube, which you guys should all do. Follow us on the YouTube there. But yeah, I mean, I had no one else to blame but myself. It was just unfortunate the hands that you get. And it's funny because Jake and I had already argued back and forth on the Big Bang, so I just wound up saying fuck it, and I'm playing it, and I just happened to see it, so it was just unfortunate. But you're right, that loss, because it fucked me up, because I lost to Rogue. I'm winning all my meta matchups. I'm losing to this Rogue. In round 4, I played against Rika. Round 3 was his generators. I wound up winning that die roll, but I lost that matchup 1-2. I made him go first. Game 1 was a blowout, and I won. And he really couldn't play either through the shifter. Either he couldn't play through the shifter or he bricked, one or the other. But game 2, my opponent made me go first because he realized that winning the die roll and making him go first, I was on blind second. I didn't open optimal. I think I only had Fenrir and Planet. My Planet got Ash, so I special Fenrir, ended on just Shangri-La Pass, but I think a Big Bang set, and I got Kaiju'd. So, and then he went off from there. Rika was just crazy. And then game 3 was actually really amazing. It just showed me why plants are really, really good. I made him go first. He set up the whole board. If I'm correct, I had double Fenrir, Birth, Theosis, and Dark Hole, or one of those, either Dark Hole or Lightning Storm. I used the board breaker. He negated with Hyperion, special Fenrir. He uses Rika Princess to tribute the Fenrir. I special summon, or no, I activate Birth, special summon the Fenrir in my hand because I was trying to bait out if he had anything else. I activate Fenrir on field. He activates Princess from the motherfucking hand, tributing one of his monsters to get rid of the Fenrir. I use Birth to try to bring Fenrir back. And oh no, I lied. I special out Fenrir. I activate Theosis on the Fenrir. He ashes that. I try to banish a card on the field. I think I banished his Con, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't see that I didn't want to bother with the rest of the cards on field because I knew that I was playing through half of them anyway with the plays. I just needed to get rid of Con so I wouldn't be tributed if my Birth stuck. So after the Theosis got ashed, I banished Con face down. I go to activate Fenrir to search for another one. I get the Princess because I guess he just didn't give a fuck. And that's why he attributed his monster. And then I went to go for Birth to get one of the Fenrirs back, and he had Cyclone set. So it was just over for me. So he just had every single out to everything I had, all 6 cards, and it was crazy. And he just showed me why plants are still strong. So shout out to that guy. He really put the fucking work in. But that made me X2 going into round 5. I actually played once again I actually played meta this time, and I played against Branded, which I 2-1 him. Game 1, I lost that dice roll, by the way. Game 1, I Ashes Branded Fusion. He thrusted for Fusion duplication, made Sanctifier on my turn anyway, and then still gimmick locked me. So I lost game 1, but since he won the die roll, he didn't know what I was on. Game 2, I went in first, saw my side deck cards, and locked him out. I must have saw the Ibli, locked him out, and then once I had Birth, Fenrir, Unicorn on board, I didn't make the Shangri-La. He just knew it was over. So he washed that one up. And then we went to game 3. He went first. I Ashes Branded Fusion. He had no follow-up besides thrust into Imperm. I had Harpy's Feather Duster for him and then full combo. So he just handed out the scoop. I didn't even get to attack for a game. He just knew what it was. So shout out to him. And then we go into round 6 where I lose to Gold Pride. I lost the die roll. It was a 2-1. He went first. I was able to crack the board. I had thrust be able to grab tactics to crack his board because I didn't want him to know I was on blind second. When people see cards like Dark Hole, Lightning Storm, shit like that in the main, they just know that I'm a blind second. So I just didn't want to reveal that yet while still cracking his board. Wound up winning game 1. Game 2, he made me go first. I put in cards to go second, thinking that he was gonna go first. Saw all of them. My hand was like Change of Heart, Lightning Storm, Thrust, Tactics, and Theosis or something like that. Just not the right engine card. I wound up having to pass. He winds up OTKing me, and then in game 3, I made him go first and didn't open enough disruption for the board. Opened too much engine. Unicorn, Fenrir, Rise Heart, Tactics, and what was the last card? I want to say maybe a Scareclaw. It just wasn't enough. By the time I stuck a monster, he had the trap card to pop it. I brought out another monster. He went into Baller Roller, wiped my whole board up, and then that was it. I just didn't have enough engine to play through it, so he just happened to take that. Another loss to Rogue, where it was just like, if I just made the correct plays and maybe in game 2, I would maybe have clutched through. But I just was so unfamiliar with the match that they pay life points. I wasn't paying attention to what life point count was at. So I probably could have OTK'd in game 2. But because I was unaware of the game state, I just was making foolish mistakes, losing to these rogue ass fucking matchups. So I was out by round 7 of the main event. And then I think I was just supporting Albert and Matt Pelletier, who made day 2, along with Figs too. Everyone who did well in Philadelphia did well here, I would say. They may not have made top 64 again, but they still did well in my eyes. They were all X3. Figs was X3-1. So he was, I think, top 200. If I remember correctly, Albert got 84th, and Matt Pelletier was like 120-something. So they did well. They just, bubbled out of top 64. And it should have been in their defense, too. With 3,000 people, they should have had top 124 or 128, whatever it is, instead of the 64. Just in my opinion, they should have played it out that way. But, it is what it is. They missed out on the top cut, but we still had a good time. We just got back, actually. At the time of recording, I stepped in the house and hopped on the computer so that way I can get ready for this recording. We haven't even slept or showered or anything like that, so... It was a fun time, though, all overall.
You dirty scumbag.
It is what it is. I'll shout at night. It's not like I'm not going to shout.
Typical Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Yeah, exactly. This got to make sure I live up to the standards. But it was a good trip. We got to meet a whole bunch of content creators. So shout outs to the people who took pictures with me. Shout outs to Evilise, Paisano from the Market Watches, GGYGO, Brian from Crush Cards, Tom Box from MSC.TV. All of them.
Did you say, hey, motherfucker, why don't you return our emails?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I reached out and saw MBT, too. MBT is surprisingly taller than I thought he was going to be. I thought he would be like 5'6", 5'7". He's like 6 foot.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because I'm 5'10". So anyone a little bit over me, I know has got to be at least 6 foot. So
I got to say, that yellow hoodie looks slick.
Yeah.
It looks slick.
For all those who don't know, I was rocking the mustard color semi-limited hoodie. Make sure you guys get that in the link tree down below. It'll lead you to the 7 South Etsy. A bunch
I was
of players who
jealous.
came through. Yeah, they placed some orders. I wound up getting. I don't know if you remember Trayvon. Shout out to Trayvon. He used to go to Syracuse. He actually lives in Georgia now, but he met up with us at Nationals. He copped a hoodie. Jeff Allen. He copped a hoodie. Shouts to him. He's another Rochester player. He saw how fire they were. I had an extra one at the crib. He's like, "Yo, bring it over. I got you." So I brought one over from the hotel and made sure we got it on him while he was doing his flight. So shout outs to him for supporting as well. But yeah, we got to see a bunch of people. It was a really good time. We all looked sharp. We had a bunch of like fun. I wish we went to a better place for dinner because the place we went to was just so ass. Just briefly put, we had Ryan make a reservation for 13. And by the time we got there, they tried saying that Ryan didn't call. He didn't place that reservation. So Ryan showed on his phone that he was talking with someone for 45 minutes at 4:45 about this reservation. So the guy got mad that we were right and we proved them. So he just says, well, the best I can do is split you guys up. And I can do 7 or 8 over here and then 6 over here. So, his attitude was just like, well, this is the deal, guys. This is how we're gonna do it. This is what I got. This is the best I can do. And it just seemed like he didn't even really want us there to begin with. Like we were fucking his shit up by coming. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, if you guys want to eat here, we can. But they're trying to split us up. So we eventually wound up splitting up just so we can have someplace to eat because we already committed to walking there. And we went by rooms. So whoever was in our room ate with us. So it was me, Jake, Antonio, Albert, Brendan, and Dave. But we waited forever to get our food. By the time we ordered and got our food, Eric and Scott's table were all leaving because they had gotten served and ate already. So we were just getting our food by the time they were leaving. So and we were there for about like a good hour and a half, like in totality. So like it wasn't like we were there a short amount of time. So plus when we got the food, it wasn't as good as we thought. It was like dry rub. There was no sauce. It was like a barbecue vinaigrette type deal. I don't know. It was just really weird. I just didn't like it. So anyway, I do not recommend the Pit if you guys are in North Carolina.
That's Carolina Q. It's that vinegary shit.
Yeah, I'm not with that. For that, give me some good old barbecue sauce, man. I thought something was gonna be slathered. I got barbecue chicken and pulled pork, barbecue pulled pork, and they both come with dry rub. Like what? Ew.
Yeah, they're weird down there, dude.
Going back into it, what do you think about Cashtira winning it? I mean, the top 64 was pretty diverse, I think, even with the representation. I mean, of course, it was mostly represented in cash, and I think we all knew that. But the diversity was still there. There was like 5 or 6 other decks that were still competing.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. What they got there? There was probably 4 D-Link in there. Most of their effects trigger in Grave,
Mad D-Link.
So, really, if you put it against cash, I'd assume if they lose the dice roll, they're gonna have a bad time if you just Rise Heart them.
I think the D-Link player won the dice roll and still got shifted.
Oh, jeez.
Odd Streeb, yeah, the D-Link player Odd Streeb.
We had I thought the top 60, what was it, top 32 had some interesting decks in it as well. I didn't get a full chance to pull that up like I was going to. But
I mean, there was like Rika in there for hire Runic Sprite was there. Pirelli was really prevalent. I think Jake played against Kamal Crooks, who eventually I think made top 16, if I'm not mistaken, maybe top 8. There was a Striker Sprite player in top 32. There was a bunch of wild shit.
It's always something Sprite, just like people. It's, you know what I mean? It's such a good little mini engine in there that why not run it?
Yeah, everyone keeps hitting Sprite. It's got to become an engine. It can't even become a deck core anymore. Like, you can't play pure Sprite. It just doesn't do enough.
Like I was asking earlier, I said, why the fuck are they doing like this mini little Sprite engine? And it just makes perfect sense because blue can get you it's a 1-card search negate. You know what I mean? Like it's your normal summon, but it's a monster or spell negate. So why not run the shit? And then you could just link off the blue into something else. It's
it's just fodder, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Linking it with For Hire, it makes me want to play that little slutty core there. I've always been trying to make For Hire work, but here's the time.
Yeah, Josh and I are both big advocates for Sprite. So he actually is tested out the For Hire Runic Sprite. I don't like the Runic engine personally. I think it's just too degenerate. The banishing from the deck and like the sole purpose of your win con being decking your opponent out or stalling out for time, it's just annoying to me. So I just personally just don't like it. but it was still like a prevalent deck. Like it needs and deserves respect. You should be siding in Cyclones, back row hate, even monster disruptions for the for hire or the sprite part. Like you still need to respect both the monster half of the engines as well as the back row half of the engines, which is why I think it's a respectable deck.
I think seeing older cards return to the meta is also cool. Like seeing just Dark Hole in the format is very cool. Regeki
Yeah, that was really there. Yeah, those board breakers
just
are super there.
Just and also being able to just search it with Thrust too just makes like just old classic spell cards good again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah. Thrust was, I think, the most played card in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like Thrust or Tactics, like they were just so everywhere. Every deck was playing them. Brandon had to play it to get to Fusion Deployment to play around Ash. Kashtira had to play it to get to non-engine cards as well as engine cards like Terraforming, Theosis, shit like that. Fucking D-Link players are using it to grab board breakers so that way they can deal with the Kashtira Rise Heart before playing. Sprite players are obviously using it to fetch out their spell cards and shit like that, like their non-engine. The ability to just now have any searchable non-engine is crazy. Rika players can use it to get to unexpected die. Like now you have engine. Like that's crazy. In my opinion.
I'm almost afraid.
It's so strong.
I'm almost afraid to pick them up, but they're inevitably going to be made into an OTS pack, ultimate rare. So I think I'll pick up.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, it's just inevitable. It's like fucking Thanos at this point.
Yeah,
like, it is coming.
Konami's way too intricate with their wording. So yeah, with the way that they would say thrust into action this season, I think that they would put it in, even if not. Hopefully, I think Felton was saying on the drive back that they should do it as a super to make these cars more attainable to the public, which I can kind of agree with. Like there's a price out for certain players.
We can
even
agree
the good
with
players
that,
can't
but that's not happening. That is going to be
so which obviously means it's going to be an ultimate rare, correct?
Silly
Yeah,
goose.
exactly. Yeah, no, I told him the same thing. If we do get it, it's an ultimate rare. So he was saying you go from a high printing to an even higher printing. You know what I'm saying? A printing that's scarce, of course, that's secret. You know what I'm saying? To an ultimate rare in a fucking OTS pack that's only around for 3 months. So I can understand the argument for it, but I do think it will get reprinted in the OTS packs. I do think it will be an ultimate rare, so I am calling it now. But that's just me.
I called it 12 episodes back.
I think we both did. But all right. So did you see that? Did you hear Cash won? It was Cash in the top 4. It was all Kashtira. Yeah, it was 2 mirror matches.
I didn't see the final.
Oh, so you didn't see Erad? You didn't see Erad for 4?
No.
Yo, Eradicator was prevalent this format, dog. Everyone was saying ban Erad in the crowd as soon as it came out. It's the second time in a major event, because it happened in EU too. The second time in a very televised major event where in the finals, someone got eradicated for 4, and the turn was over.
Yikes.
There was just nothing else they could do.
You know what I'm saying? Crazy.
It's just too much.
Oh my good golly gosh. You think that's gonna get hit then? Or do you think it just doesn't matter if they I mean how do you see
Kashtira or
how do you, how do you see the exit of Kashtira in the next ban list?
Well, hold on. Let's ban Erad before we ban Kashtira, dog. Let's just be real.
Well, hold on.
But I do think that if we're being honest, if we're talking representation,
Let's be honest, yeah.
Kashtira is a prevalent deck, and if I'm going to argue the same thing that I would for tier elements and that needed to go, it was too overrepresented, yada yada, then I have to eat my own words and say the same thing about the deck that I love, that Kashtira is overrepresented. It's very, very strong. It does a lot for the little amount that it takes to play that engine. So I do agree that it should probably get hit again. I just don't know in what matter. I really hope that they just do something with Birth, so that way the tech card that I had ready to replace Birth can actually come into fruition. But I mean, they could at this point maybe even ban a Rysart if they really wanted to. Like, it's just Shangri-La control at that point, and I don't think you can get enough banishes going against your opponent without them interacting for you to do enough turn 1. But maybe that's just me blindly looking into it.
You said Eradicator 1 was a good hit, but the deck is
no. I said Eradicator banned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Eradicator banned was a hit. Do you think that it's gonna be banned out, or do you think that the meta will just evolve enough to make it not playable?
So we were talking about that briefly at the hotel the night that it went down, and I think we were saying that it used to be back in the day, it was hard to get the requirements of a 2000 stat attack monster to stick on a board after you set a card for it to like really stick, and then there wasn't as many spell cards being played back then. So it was an okay card back then, but now in today's meta, it's so easy to get a monster that has 2000 or more attack. And then now you're telling me you get to rip an entire mechanic away from a player for the next 3 turns? That's crazy to me. Like, it has to be banned, or it can stay at 3 because people want to turbo into it. It's going to maybe lead people into playing more traps than spells. Maybe if that's just the case, so that way the spells don't get hit for everything. You're probably playing more cards like Imperm, more cards like Evenly Matched, shit like that. So that way, if you get hit for spells, you're not losing half your hand. But like, should we really accommodate that, or do all this shifting when we can just ban a card that's inherently a little too broken for its time? I think that we should straight up ban it. You can't put it to 1 because then it's just a thrust target, like how it's being played now. Some people are playing it at 3, but some people can just play it at 1. If you ash me, then oh well, I'm just gonna set an Erad, activate a Bestial, and then boom, there you go. Like that's as simple as that.
So you're predicting that that's the next ban?
Brennan wanted fucking Red Reboot to 2, and they were going back and forth on it in the car, but I think they eventually fell on that if we have cards like Erad, like D-Bear, that are still in the game that are just as strong, that you should bring back cards that can deal with them, and the only one that's worth dealing with them is Red Reboot. And to 1 is just too sacky, and they said I think to test the waters at 2 and see where it goes from there.
See, that's just like talking about banning the problem first, like how we said to ban doll and not expulsion.
Yeah, gimmick
So
puppet.
isn't that that's kind of like the same, almost the same argument there. Like, why not just get rid of the problem instead of bringing something else back?
No, I agreed.
Red Reboot's like a real problem card in itself too.
Yeah, it is, and the only thing that stops it is Solemn or another Red Reboot. So now it's gonna make people's side deck patterns weird and shit like that. But look, I mean, hey, if it's the only answer to trap cards, I'm with it. I'm under the belief every mechanic should have a counter, but I think eradding someone for the majority of their hand, when you know games 2 and 3 they're going to be siding in board breakers like instead of hand traps, that's just too crazy, just too strong to me. If it was harder to get out dark monsters, or if the requirement for it was, I think, a little bit more stricter, then maybe, but it's way too easy nowadays to meet those requirements.
Right. That's the beautiful thing about Yu-Gi-Oh too. It's just the card pool is just so fucking big that how can one thing not just be inherently broken, and just banning one card's not even the answer. So definitely interesting to see where this meta will be shaping up to a little bit more. I thought it was going to be a little bit more than just Kashtira dominant again, but here we are.
Yeah, Kashtira's still doing his thing, man.
But just like that, folks, we're out of life points. One last time, we just wanted to give a shout out to Unplugged Gaming. Like you said, keep an eye out for the Dune format. They're trying to do a regional out there. Let's get some judges, fat or small. Just wear the shirt 2 sizes too small.
Yeah, as he said, shout outs to the sponsor. They're giving us that box of Wild Survivors that we're going to give away for everyone who inboxes the Instagram, which is at semi_limited_podcast, and sends a picture of you and your card. It's got to be a picture of you in the card, and a little bit of a description of why it's the most wildest card in your possession. All right, we'll be doing the drawing at the end of this week, so it will be announced in next week's episode. So be sure to tune in and find out who won there.
And I am the Glone Wolf,
followed by Player X,
and together we are
the Semi-Limited Podcast.
I know you missed the riff. Motherfucker, we're out.